All right, Shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. We'd like to give double honors to our elders and apostles at Great Millstone that do well, and peace and salutations to the Lord's elect, the hopeful elect and 1/3. All right, we are the true biblical Hebrew Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and we come out to the highways and byways to prophesy the downfall of what you know as America, while simultaneously teaching the scriptures through the Baha'u'llah Quadash, and Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is waking up his elect where they're scattered, okay? And the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the condition that they're in today, all right, is found biblically through what you know as curses put on the children of Israel. And we are a Great Millstone on location, and the landmass that we are standing upon what's the name of it, brother? The name?
It says African Methodist. It says the name of the church is African Methodist. So Episcopal Zion Church.
Right. Make sure you read it loud too. Okay. Yep. It's just for the brothers and sisters. So we're at what they call the AME Zion Church. Now this church behind us is not the AME. This church got placed in it after. All right, the church originally fell. So we are standing on the original landmass of the first stop of our people got to in the Underground Railroad station, because the Underground Railroad was a system of houses and people that were placed from the south to the north to hide and harbor fugitive slaves on the run, escaping slavery. Okay, and slavery is a curse that was put upon our people for disobeying who you know as God, which the true name of God is Yahweh, and the true name of the Son is Yahushai. You see, so us being in Rochester, this is actually a historic site for our people, but it's also prophecy. You see, so what we're going to do is we're going to read a little information, all right, on this church, show the plaque that they have, so they're aware of this land. Okay, they're aware of this landmass. And then we're going to bring in some fun facts, and we're also going to mirror it or marry it with the scriptures, and Lord's will, you brothers and sisters will be edified. Can you read that, brother, loud?
So it says this church was founded in 1827 by Reverend Thomas James. This building has the distinction of being the home of the first black church in the city of Rochester.
Right. So what we want to talk about first is the mere fact that it's named Zion, okay? And we looked it up. Zion appears in the Bible over 152 times. Now, we're not going to sit here and say that the Israelites, because they are Israelites that built this, that came here, okay? These are Hebrew Israelites. Can you get, they have a zeal, but not according to knowledge. So our people have a zeal to believe in God. This is why the first, can you read that again? The first what?
It says the first black church in the city of Rochester.
So the very first black church that was established here in Rochester, New York, which New York was a slave state before it became free, all right? The first black church was named Zion. And that's because our people have a zeal, and actually the Israelite, which he identified as black, all right? He said that the reason they called it Zion is because that Zion is referred to as the church of God. Now in 1 Peter 4, it says that judgment must begin at the house of the Most High. So Zion is the house or church of God, being us, the people. Okay, so read this real quick.
Romans 10:1. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to the Yahweh, the power of Israel, is that they might be saved.
Right.
For I bear on record that they have the zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge.
Right. So they have a zeal. This is why they would build a church, and not only build a church, they built it in the name of Israel. And in this same land where we're on was the first station that our people came to hide and seek shelter from Esau, Edom, who is a so-called white man that held us in captivity, who took us in captivity and refused to let us go. So the Underground Railroad is biblical, okay? The conditions we're in is biblical, okay? So this is a GMS church on location of a historic landmass for our people pertaining to the curses. Now we're going to read the rest of these fun facts, and we're going to walk over and show you the plaque that they commemorated for this landmass, okay?
And it says, not only did Harriet Tubman hide slaves there, it also served as a meeting place for notable
and a fun fact, Harriet Tubman is known as the Moses of her people. Okay, so we're just on those levels. That's just spiritual. You have who we say so-called Negroes being Judah, going into slavery. We're gonna pull it out the scriptures, okay? When the Spirit has it, we're gonna go into the curses, all right? But you had a so-called Negro woman that was referred to as Moses, not because she wanted to be a man, but because what she was doing for these people that Moses did for the Hebrew Israelite slaves in Egypt. And we are all over in Egypt yet again. In the Bible, America is known as Egypt because America is the bondage for the children of Israel. And we are standing yet again on a historic landmass, all right, for a place of refuge that our people sought after to try to escape the curses that were put upon them for disobedience.
Yep. It says, not only did Harriet Tubman hide slaves there, it also served as a meeting place for notable abolitionists such as Frederick Douglass.
Yep.
Douglass published the North Star in the church's basement, in the basement,
yep,
before moving his office to the Tallman building. The church was said to have contained a trap door,
yep,
by the pulpit and escape tunnels leading to Plymouth Avenue and the Genesee River.
Which the Genesee River is right over here. Mm-hmm. Plymouth Ave, we got off on the Plymouth exit.
Yep.
You see? And it's spiritual because we landed what? On Plymouth Rock. Okay? But this is a very historic land because of what has taken place for our people that we find in the Bible. And then it says it had a trap door. So that should show you the conditions were so bad that any time you had to flee from Esau, Edom, because remember, you had slave catchers and kidnappers that were going all throughout looking for our people while they were trying to escape through the underground railroads. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to walk right over here and just show you the plaque. And then we're going to go into more information pertaining to the Underground Railroad because this spot is famous for being a station for the Underground Railroad. It's not famous for just being a church. It's famous because what this church did for Israelites that were escaping persecution. All right, so if you want, we can walk down here. All right, so we can go right over here. And so this is the church behind us. This is the church behind us right here. All right, but this is the landmass where the original church was built. Okay, and now this church behind us is called Bethlehem. So even that's very spiritual. This proves our people, they have a zeal.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's check this plaque out real quick, and then we're going to set back up right over there. All right, right here, this land now, which Rochester is only 210 years old, but there's a lot of history of persecution to our people. So if you want to just show them this, brother. So here, right here, is a plaque, and it says, "Discovering Historic Corn Hill, African-American abologist Frederick Douglass first published his North Star newspaper in December of 1847. Now, one would ask why these things are taking place, because the Lord didn't always set it up for us to be in hardcore chattel slavery. Okay, so this was the Lord loosening up the bands of the curses. All right, and it says right here, and then it says here on Favor Street, which we're on Favor Street. It says at Rochester's earliest African Methodist, which the Methodist doctrine of Christianity was created by 3 Edomites with the last name of Whitfield. Okay, so they weren't here for our betterment. This is why you have a lot of so-called blacks and Latinos believing in Christianity or Catholicism. Right? Mm-hmm. Because early on, you had a lot of Edomites that were persuading our people to believe in the Bible, but according to their knowledge, to steer us away from the truth. This is why you had certain people like Nat Turner and so on that rose up when they found the truth of the Bible. Because remember, they didn't allow us to read the Bible. All right. And it says, an Episcopal church, Reverend Thomas James permitted Douglass to use of his church basement for the initial printings of the first of this anti-slavery newspaper. See? So right, the land that we're standing on was a place where abolitionists, abolished for our people, was writing newspapers speaking out against us. And now fast forward all the way today, if you want to grab the Apostles' Last, because I want to give y'all a little bit of fun fact information. So where we're standing, not only was the first African American church, but not too far down the street at 144 Edinburgh Street, Malcolm X had his last speech, and he was assassinated 5 days later. So the Lord had a lot of things, a lot of leaders for our people that did things in New York, but now the truth has came out. So now the apostles are out here to bring you the truth with the scriptures. You see? It's that the first 4. You got it? I read it.
1 Corinthians 4 and verse 9. For I think that Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai has set us forth, the apostles last.
Right, because before the apostles were what? You have your Reverend James. You have your Islam. You have your Methodists. You've had all these avenues with the Bible for our people, but then Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai set it up for in the last days the truth to come out. You see? So it's very spiritual. Where we're standing was not only the first station, according to the Underground Railroad, where our people would go for shelter, but also where we're standing, a man by the name of Malcolm X, years later, all right, gave his last speech before he was assassinated. And he was aware of who we were as Israelites, okay? But now the Lord raised up the apostles last, starting with our elders, okay? Starting with Abba Bivens, fulfilling the prophecy of sending Elijah back. And then those men taught who our elders are today, which made us disciples. And then when we got built up enough through the Spirit, we became apostles, and now we've been sent away. And that's why we're in Rochester, New York. You want to finish it?
Yep. For I think that Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai has set us forth, the apostles last, as they were appointed to death.
Yep.
For we have made a spectacle unto the world, and to angels, and to men.
Yep, and we're made a spectacle because the truth has to be spread across the ends of the earth, if you will. So this GMSM location is just another example of the gospel being sent out, because you've heard of the Underground Railroad, but they never matched it biblically. All right, so we just wanted to show you this plaque. All right, this is the land we're on. So we're just going to go back to where we were, because we are on, we're on location. So we're just going to walk back. And a lot of our people, they really don't understand the severity, of what it took to get us here, which is prophecy, and the condition we're in is prophecy. You see? So this is all set up by Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai by design. Okay? So you had a precept, brother? Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go into the Underground Railroad, and we're gonna get more fun facts on that. Okay? So we're gonna get more into that. And you got the paper, right, brother?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'll watch the battery. But we're gonna bring out history on the Underground Railroad, but also with the scriptures, you see? So if you want to go right into that other page, start right with this one. Okay? You can read the title, and we're just gonna go off that.
All right. And the title of the paper says The Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
And it says African Americans fled slavery in the South for a variety of reasons.
So they escaped slavery from the South. Now let's get Deuteronomy 28 and 15 first, okay? And we're going to explain why they were even in slavery. See, that's another thing too that our people can't answer even in the church. They can't answer why we're in slavery. They can't answer biblically why there's the Underground Railroad, you see? So read Deuteronomy 28:15 first.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai thy power.
Right. So this is what we're reading right now is a warning to the children of Israel that was made through Moses, telling us of these laws and statutes we have to live by. But if we didn't, there'd be repercussions. Okay? Slavery is a repercussion of our disobedience to who you know as God.
It literally says captivity and plagues for disobedience.
Beautiful. See?
It says to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I commanded thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
See, so us as a people, when you look at us, you can tell that we're cursed. We're cursed from head to toe. Our women are cursed with the scab of the head. Our households are cursed with single parents. All right, we're cursed on all sides from our disobedience, and we're standing on a location, all right, of a place where our people sought refuge from these curses. Okay, keep going.
Verse 16.
Oh, you read 15?
Yep.
Okay, now let's jump all the way to 68.
Okay.
Let's go right to 68 now.
Verse 68. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. And the Lord thy power shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Right. So what we want to focus on first is, well, the Bible says the children of Israel will go to Egypt on ships, but they left Egypt on foot. So why would they need to go back on ships? Because this Egypt is synonymous with bondage, which I believe, if you want, as Exodus 20:1.
Yep.
You want to grab that real quick? And then we'll go to Revelations 11, break that down, and jump right back to the curses. Because we want to show you is, in the Bible, when it says Egypt, it wasn't talking about the literal Egypt, okay? Because remember, the Lord sent plagues on Egypt to deliver us, and Egypt was never right ever since. So if you want to read that.
This is Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2. It says, I am Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
See? So this is why we got blessings and curses, because the Lord already delivered us before, okay? We didn't have to escape Egypt and run away in an underground tunnels. Not literally underground, but an underground railroad, meaning hiding here, hiding there. We left Egypt, all right, as a collective, as a whole nation, you see? But now let's get that in Revelations.
Oh, right. Love it.
Yep. To prove that the Egypt that's talking about Deuteronomy 28 is talking about a spiritual Egypt. America is a spiritual Egypt because we were brought over on cargo slave ships, all right, according to the curses, which we're going to go back. But we were brought to this landmass, okay? And here we were slaves. And it was a very harsh, nasty conditions that we go through. That's why our people were escaping. You didn't read in the Bible that Israel escaped out of Egypt. They actually wanted to go back to Egypt.
Right.
But the conditions that we went through in what you know as America today were so heinous and harsh that our people started fleeing these lands, okay?
Revelation 11 and verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city.
Now they're called dead. Why? Because when we got to America, our nationality was beat out of us as Israelites. The Bible tells you in Jeremiah 17 that we shall lose our heritage.
Discontinue.
It will be discontinued. There's movies like Roots. When he got here, he was called Kunta, but then they changed his name to Toby. Now we're going to go more into that information too, okay, about what Esau would do in the midst of our slavery. Right now, we're just proving that these are the Hebrew Israelites who you know as Negroes or Latinos and Native Americans and with the Underground Railroad, okay?
And it says, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city.
What's the greatest city on earth is what? America, okay? Keep going.
Which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt.
Right, spiritually. So America is also known in the Bible as not only as Sodom, but also as Egypt.
Right, because they got that spirit to enslave the Israelites.
Yep.
Man. And where did they get that idea from? Egypt.
Yep.
That's why you have a pyramid on the back of your dollar bill.
Exactly. You have something called Alexandria, Egypt. And in there you had obelisks. And those same obelisks from Alexandria, Egypt, which the Edomites were ruling then, because Alexandria, Egypt was named after King Alexander, they set up obelisks and they erected that same obelisk from actual Egypt and brought it to New York. And not too far down the road is actually Egypt, New York, okay? Where we are still oppressed. But now we're not dead because we're awoken, all right? Because guess what? This is still a black church.
Right.
There was actually a so-called Negro woman that drove by and asked us what we were doing outside of her church. And we told her, we broke it down to her peacefully, sent up prayers, and the Lord made her be at peace with us. Okay, but right behind us to this day, this land that we're standing on not only was the first Underground Railroad station Zion for our people to hide, is now today a known black church. But in this church, they don't have the truth. They don't know that who you call Jesus is a so-called black man whose true name is Yahushai. They don't know the true children of Israel. And guess what? At one point, we didn't either. That's why I said they're dead bodies. But now we are living. We are the prophecy, us and all the other brothers, not just saying us, all right? Other men, even before us, we are prophecy of Ezekiel 37, the valley of the dry bones, being awoken, okay? So what the Underground Railroad did was it ushered in this new spirit of taking away the chattel slavery. So we're still in captivity, but it was lessened. You see?
Good, no more.
Yeah.
It says, and where also our Lord was crucified.
Right, and this is why today if you want to grab it, brother, this is why today, all right, Esau Edom came over and he gave us this image. You see? Crucified meaning X out, okay? His name was changed, his image was changed, and now with us being a living soul, all right, we're here showing you that this is the true biblical rendition of what the Bible describes who you know as Jesus as, you see? But this is all pushed throughout in America. Even and our people look at that and actually get upset. And even the Israelite woman, which she identifies as Negro right now, she said, well, what's up with those signs? So she was more offended seeing who she knows as Jesus with horns on than what's going on today with our people by the same
right.
you know, people. The bigger picture. You want? Was that it? There's a little more, right?
Yeah. In verse 9, it says, and they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half.
That's the slavery. The 350 years, okay? That was the slavery. And then prophecy got fulfilled. The curses lightened. You see, the Lord didn't always set up for the way that Esau had us in slavery was not the way we're in slavery in Babylon. You know, I mean, we went through it, but we still had our own quarters. We still had our own food. Okay, the things that he did to us in slavery, he would make our people actually dig up dead bones of Native Americans, boil it down, and eat that just for a meal. These are the things he did to us. Okay, he taking our women, raping our women, putting his own children from the offsprings of these slave Israelite women and putting them in slavery, whipping us, beating us. The conditions that we were in slavery here was far worse than any other empire that we've been through. There was other empires we were in captivity in where we were allowed to rebuild our temple, you know?
Right.
But here, you weren't allowed to read the Bible. You were not allowed to read the Bible here in America, okay? So let's just finish a little more of that.
It says, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves.
There you go, man. All right, but a little more, because it'll go into, you know.
Verse 10, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another.
Yeah, and that's all. And that was what? During slavery. So what we're breaking down to is the slavery, okay? Sending gifts. Now what you want to do is hold that and go back to the curse, prove that, and then go back to that, because it all will tie in. All right, so what it's told, a prophecy in Revelations, is also a part of our curse in Deuteronomy 28. This has all happened to us as a people. All right, no other nation has experienced this, and even if they did, they can't back it biblically. We are reading the Bible while showing not only biblical events with secular history, and we're actually standing not only in the great city where we are brought to. This is why we're here. We're here because of the curses. You looking at a so-called Levite man, a so-called Haitian, a so-called West Indian, okay, a so-called Native American. This is all in the Bible while we're here in what you know as America today, and who you know as the Caucasians are why they're ruling in this landmass today. So let's real quick read that.
I got two.
All right, just got that Deuteronomy, please. Yeah.
Deuteronomy 28 and verse 32.
668.
Okay, verse 68.
Finishing off the slavery.
It says, and Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai thy power shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
And that's why we're reading in Rev, they're making gifts, because he took us. And he didn't just take us, he had us bound, okay? He had us bound. Some of our women would will go on these ships, virgins, and they would get off the ships pregnant. Our people would die. They would hose us down. We would have to urinate and defecate on ourselves. He would feed us slop. He would take our women, and they were referred to as belly warmers, because you got to understand the journey, all right? Because we're not talking about Christopher Columbus right now, which was even before, but we're just focused on in the 1600s with this land.
Right,
okay?
and that's called the triangular slave trade, or the,
Yep, transatlantic slave trade. You see, so Esau Edom, all right, was funded by who you know as Jews today, all right? So-called Jews today funded our slavery, and they came to the west coast of Africa and kidnapped us and brought us here in very harsh conditions, all right? Chained and bound, okay? Keep going.
And he says, and thou shalt see it no more again.
Yeah, our homeland.
And there you shall be sold unto your enemies.
Yep.
For bondmen and bondwomen.
For slave men and slave women.
And no man shall buy you.
Right, because we have a law according to Leviticus where you can buy your brother out of servitude. But this was, you were not being bought out of slavery. You would be bought, and the money would go to the slave master, and he would rent you out. Yep. The land mass that we're standing on is named after Nathaniel Rochester, which he came here, bought, rented, and sold slaves. You see? So even the land mass of the city of Rochester is a slave state. You see? So let's read a little bit more into this.
It says, excuse me.
Oh, and finish Rev 20. I'm sorry, Rev 11. Finish that real quick. Revelations 11. The 350 days.
Revelation 11 and verse 10. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them,
because they brought them in bondage, slave men and slave women,
and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another.
Because you got to understand that the conditions of slavery got Esau rich: tobacco, cotton, coffee. The list just goes on and on of the richness that they made off our backs. And actually, Western New York would not have been what it is today without the enslavement of Hebrew Israelite people. Mm-hmm. We're going to read some more articles. Right now, we're just biblically getting the facts out, and we're going to go more into these articles. But you have to understand, this is all backed biblically. Okay, it's fine to know the so-called Black history, but if you want to know true Black history or Latino or Native American, that would only be found in the Bible. Keep going.
It says, because these two prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth.
Yep, the two prophets, but ultimately meaning the northern and southern kingdom. This is why we're here today. This is why the prophets are raised up today. The Lord, there wasn't prophets during chattel slavery. You weren't even allowed to read. You know, you had to play dumb. You know, you lived in barns. You know, you lived on hay. You lived in the back.
If you got caught escaping, they'd chop your foot off.
Yep.
But they did to Kunta.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Was that it?
A little bit more. It says, and after the 3 days and a half,
yep,
the spirit of life from Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, entered into them.
Now this is why now the spirit of escaping, the spirit of abolitionists, Quakers, free states, because you got to understand, the first state to be freed was Pennsylvania in 1780. But guess what? New York was established, but New York was not a free state. A lot of people have it misconstrued. Not all the North was free states. Only Pennsylvania was at first, and then New York State came about later on, but they still had slaves when they were turning it into a free state. You see, but this was ending the 350, if you will, the prophecies, so the captivity was lightened up, all right?
And it says, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them that saw them.
And now, this is why the prophecy that took place in 1969, the Great Awakening, and things of that nature. So now that we made those points, we want to go back and focus on the Underground Railroad, though. You see, because you have to understand what has been done to the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. There will be judgment for the oppressors that have oppressed us. And the Underground Railroad is a proven fact showing you the conditions of slavery or servitude were so harsh that they would literally escape all the way down from Louisiana trying to get to Canada. And they would have to, when you look at it, actually, let's show that map. Let's show that map. When you look at the map, okay, when you look right here on the map, we had to go all the way from down south. All these states were slave states, meaning there were each state, okay, you had what they call racists, but you had Edomites looking to kill us, lynch us, murder us, rob us, and we had to escape out of these states by night, from 10 to 20 miles at a time by night. And a 20-mile journey on foot would be over 8 hours. But you're not just walking down the street. See, the Underground Railroad is literally the wilderness. Now, the wilderness, we were in there 40 years. The Underground Railroad lasted 65 years. And there was nothing but death, torture, slave catchers, bloodhound laws, okay? Kidnappers. All these things took place while we were trying to escape slavery that the Lord was lessening. But Esau, refusing to let us go, set up traps, stumbling blocks. You know, can you get that, Jeremiah 15:33? This proves that he didn't want to let us go. So when they say, oh, we freed you, it was an uphill battle. And guess what? The Civil War wasn't over slavery. It was over politics that the international bankers, Edomites by the name of Rothschilds, were controlling the conflict. But within that, remember, Esau Edom has 5 sons. So one of them being Amalek was doing international banking, but you have other sons like Eliphaz and so on that just want to persecute his brother Jacob. We are Jacob.
Jeremiah 50, verse 33. Thus said Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together.
Right. Now I want to focus on that because now before this was chattel slavery, this land was known as Azareth that was given to our northern brothers. Okay. They actually came here to what you know as South America, escaping Assyrian captivity. This is why Columbus was able to go to South America. And a fun fact, the first slaves came from South America and they went to Spain. All right. And then the Britain came over in 1619, the early Europeans, they brought who you know as Negro slaves while conquering who you know as Native Americans. So we both were getting jacked up at the same time. Keep going, please.
And it says, were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go.
See? So when you look at history, which we're going to put and show you, there's maps. When you look at America, there are certain, matter of fact, let's get that map. There's certain maps. Thank you, brother. There's certain maps that, I got this one. I'm going to show them real quick, and then you'll put it on later. Right, yeah. There were certain maps and time periods where there was only like 1 or 2 freed states in America. It wasn't just, oh, if it's north, you're free. Right. And guess what? They made sure that there was more slave states than free states. So they never, and another thing, Abraham Lincoln never wanted to free us. He didn't even have a problem with the states that had slaves. So these are all misconceptions that our people have been fed, and those are lies. This is why our people are ultimately trying to escape America. All right. So let me see real quick, right here. Let me just show the camera. All right. So this is 1820. All right. But even before that, you didn't have this many free states. Okay. There was a lot of states that were slave ran. And even in the free states, guess what? You had people that weren't with freedom of slaves. So even in free states, you were still getting persecuted. Okay. So let's read a little information on that. We're good on that. Okay.
And it says brutal physical punishment, psychological abuse, and endless hours of hard labor.
Read that again, please.
I'm sorry from the top.
Yep.
It says African Americans fled slavery in the South.
Right. Well, let's say it correctly. Hebrew Israelites, all right, escaped slavery or the curses that was put upon them for their disobedience in a land that they didn't know. Mm-hmm. Okay. But this same land, it was prophecy that in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves.
Right. And it says in the South for a variety of reasons. Mm-hmm. Brutal physical punishment, psychological abuse.
Now, this brutal punishment was done by who you know as the Europeans.
Yep.
Who is Esau Edom. This brutal punishment was done by Esau Edom. And let's get Obadiah 1 and 10.